Hello, welcome back. My name is Niels and this is my channel. First of all, I would like to congratulate you. You made it into dental school. All those years of hard work have finally paid off. You got your foot in the door and you're about to start an exciting career in dentistry. As a fifth-year dental student, I'm very close to the end of my degree. There's a couple of things along the way that I wish I had done differently, and today I want to share a couple of tips that will help you to get the best start in dental school. Dentistry is a demanding course, but luckily first year is fairly relaxed. You should take this time to make new friends, invest in friendships, try out new things and pursue hobbies that will last you for a long time. This is the year where you're mostly a student and not quite as much a professional yet. So really take this time to enjoy yourself, because you will have to cram a lot of student life into that 1 year. If you build a foundation with good hobbies, good friends and good routines, you will have a really good start in dental school and you can build upon this. Don't lock yourself away in the library in the first year. Most of the material you're learning is not quite as important as you might think. Later on you will expand upon the knowledge you have in first year, and a lot of the things will actually not really come up again. Dentistry is a very demanding course. It's a marathon and not a sprint, and if you waste all your energy in first year, you will run out of steam really quickly. Make sure you enjoy yourself in first year. My next tip is to establish good routines early on. That includes bedtimes, friends, social life, hobbies, and a physical health as well. As students, we often forget to establish good sleeping routines, but it's quite important, especially for dental school. You don't want to be caught at 9 AM in the morning when you have a root canal treatment planned on only 2 hours of sleep. You can't really focus too well. It's quite important to have a healthy array of hobbies and to have a really good social life. You need to have someone to rely on, be that good friends or your family or your partner. So make sure to invest in those relationships early on. Shout out to my girlfriend Francesca, who definitely didn't ask me for a shout out, and who I definitely did not forget to shout out to. Hobbies are quite important as well, because you don't really want to focus on dentistry 24/7. Try to find something you can do and be fairly flexible about it, because your schedule as a dental student is going to be it's going to change quite a lot. For example, in fourth year we only had morning clinics. In fifth year we now have morning and afternoon clinics, and sometimes even evening clinics. So having hobbies you can build around your schedule is going to be really important and going to give you an alternative, something to think about that is not dentistry, and that's quite important. Next, you should also focus on your physical health, because sound body, sound mind. So if you can, go to the gym and do a bit of cardio. You will feel refreshed, you will feel quite accomplished as well, because you managed to get those workouts in. If you don't really like the gym, that's perfectly fine. I don't really like the gym either. What I tend to do is go on daily walks, and they basically achieve the same thing. You don't have to go to the gym to be healthy. I think at the moment the recommendation is to go for 20 minutes of moderate cardio, and that could be brisk walking, for example. This brings me to my next tip, which is to focus on your mental health early on. Dentistry can be quite fiddly, and you will have to focus on one thing over long periods of time. So as a dental student you will be exposed to a lot of failures, because some of the procedures are quite hard, especially as a beginner, but even for more advanced dentists with a bit more experience they tend to be difficult. So it is quite important for you to focus on your well-being. You can't really treat your patients if you're not in the right state of mind. I can say that from personal experience, because I struggle with my mental health sometimes. During more depressive episodes, it's quite hard to get work done, to be prepared for clinic, or just even to get up in the morning sometimes. You will deal with a wide array of patients. Some of them are quite understanding and quite nice. Some of them have fairly unrealistic expectations when they come to see you. So dealing with patients sometimes is quite draining as well. If you're not really ready to deal with that, it might take an impact on your mental health, and that in turn might impact on your clinical abilities. Poor mental health kind of leads into a vicious circle, and I can tell this from experience. When you start in a poor mood, you will have struggle to retain information, and you will maybe even struggle to study. This can lead to poor clinical and academic performance, which, if you really want to be a good dentist, is going to put quite a lot of strain onto your mood. So basically, poor mood leads to poor performance, leads to poor mood. It's a vicious cycle that keeps repeating itself over and over again and can really ruin you. It is therefore quite important that you seek help early on to prevent that cycle from happening or to break it. It took me a couple of years to do this, and I'm really regretting that I haven't started to do something about my mental health earlier. Do not make the same mistake. It's okay to get help. People are there to help you, and you're worth it. Something that you might not expect to hear from me today is my next tip, and that is to lose perfectionism. Healthcare, that includes dentistry, is an imperfect science. There's a lot that plays into disease. For example, the biopsychosocial model specifies that there's biological factors, there's psychological factors, and there's sociological factors. So with a patient coming to you, they are all unique, and so is the disease. So no single approach fits all. Patients come with a variety of expectations. Some of them want a problem fixed, some of them want a problem fixed and look good, and some don't really care. Some just want to give you their time for you to learn. And those are factors that you really can't influence yourself. So you kind of just have to work around them. And that limits the outcomes that you should be achieving for. What you can influence is your own expectations. You shouldn't strive for perfectionism. That might not even be in the patient's best interest, as perfectionism is the enemy of good enough. You're a beginner, so be realistic with what you want to achieve. It is quite unrealistic for you to do the perfect root canal treatment the first time you go around doing it. It is also equally unlikely that you're going to have the perfect crown preparation the first time you do it. So be aware of that. Your patients definitely are, so are your clinical teachers. If you try to do something good enough and not strive for perfectionism, that allows you to reflect rather to punish yourself over something that isn't ideal. Sometimes things go wrong, they will go wrong. Even if you do everything to the dot, if you follow the textbooks, sentence for sentence, word for word, if you follow the guidelines, it's not going to prevent failure from happening. And that leads me to my next tip. Anticipate failure. This is a professional degree, and you're learning skills that will allow you to become a dentist and manage people's oral health. Some of the procedures you're going to be doing are really challenging, even to experienced dentists. For example, every root canal can be tricky. You never really know what's happening down in those canals. You are expected to fail, especially in the early years, especially when you do procedures for the first time. There's really not a problem there. You should always try to do your best, obviously, and you should always be in a position where you're not going to hurt the patient. So if you feel like you're struggling, always ask for help early on. Your clinicians are there to help you and to teach you. When you do fail, it is quite important that you reflect on your failures, because those are going to be the most important, if not the most useful learning experiences we will have. You will always remember that one patient where you have done something wrong and where you know you should have done better, where you could have done better. And you will never forget the lessons you learned from that. I would recommend to write down the failures you have done and what you should have done to be better. You will learn from that a lot. Something I certainly did wrong in the beginning, and what I wish I had done earlier, is to be organized. I never really paid attention to that. I never really used the calendar before as well, until maybe last year, and that really helped me. So get yourself one of these. This is a yearly calendar. Every weekday is an individual page, and you should, especially when you start to see patients, write down who you're seeing and what for. It's quite important that you're not going to write down any personal details, because that is a breach of confidentiality and you should never do that. You can always use codes, for example. Especially in your later clinical years, you'll be chasing quite a few numbers. What I mean by that is you have to have a certain amount of root canals, for example, to graduate, or a certain number of fillings you need to do. So when you're managing your own patients, keep an eye on those numbers and write down how much you need, how much you've done, and who you have in the pipeline for those things. Doing that early on will relieve a lot of pressure you have in final year, which I'm going through at the moment. So it's going to be a really fun next 3 months for me, trying to get all my numbers done, all my competencies done while studying for my exams. I'm freaking out a little bit, I'm not going to lie with you. I wasn't really planning to talk about this today when I wrote my script, but given current occurrences, I think it's quite important to talk about this. This is basically a bonus tip. During your clinical training, you will work with a variety of different clinicians, with your colleagues, and also with nurses. Nurses are the unsung heroes of any healthcare system in the world. I have worked as a nursing assistant. My mom is a nurse, and she tells me all the stories from a hospital and how difficult the work is. At the moment in the UK, nurses are striking for more fair pay, and I'm in full support of that. As a dental student, you should always rely on your nurses. A lot of them have quite a lot of experience working in a dental environment, and you can definitely profit from that. So be nice to them. They're doing a lot of work, and they can really help you out when you're in sticky situations. For example, I don't really like working with kids too much, but the nurses on the pediatric ward are really experienced and they help me out to communicate better with the kids and the parents. So be nice to the nurses, appreciate them and pay them the respect that they deserve. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any questions about dental school and how to start, just drop them in the comments and I'll try to answer them for you. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving me a like. And if you want to watch more, please consider subscribing to my channel. That would really help me out. Again, let me congratulate you for making it into dental school. You really achieved something here, okay? So enjoy the break you have before you get started. It's gonna get busy soon enough. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.